The alarm bells rang through the halls of the Galactic Council station. Ambassador Veltar rushed to his command center, his blue skin turning pale as he read the emergency message on his screen. The peaceful Zephyrian mining colony in the Kepler 442 system was under attack. Who would dare attack the Zephyrians? Veltar asked his assistant. The Zephyrians were known across the galaxy as gentle beings who never fought anyone. They spent their days mining crystals and singing their beautiful songs. Unknown species, sir, his assistant replied. The Zephyrians are calling for help. Veltar did not waste time. He sent the standard peacekeeping fleet to the system. Commander, Thexani led 5 Council warships toward Kepler 442. The trip would take 2 days at maximum speed. Meanwhile, in the same system, Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Earth defense vessel UES Columbia. His brown hair was messy and his uniform wrinkled from 3 days of fighting. Around him, his crew worked at their stations with quick, sharp movements. Sir, the alien ships are pulling back, reported Lieutenant Ben Hayes from his position at the weapons console. His young face was tired but alert. Good. How many of our people are hurt? Jake asked. 12 wounded, 2 dead, answered Dr. Lisa Carter, the ship's doctor and scientist. Her red hair was tied back in a messy ponytail. But we saved the research station. Jake nodded. 3 days ago, strange alien ships had appeared near their research station without warning. The aliens had started shooting immediately. Jake and his small fleet of 3 ships had fought back to protect the scientists and workers on the station. The humans had come to this system to study the strange stars that danced around each other in ways they had never seen before. Dr. Carter and her team wanted to learn about the unusual energy the stars gave off. They had no idea that the Zephyrians thought this system was holy ground. Sir, new contacts on sensors, called out Ensign Rick Taylor from his station. 5 ships bigger than the ones we just fought. Jake looked at the main screen. 5 sleek ships approached their position. These looked different from the ships. They had been fighting. These were clearly warships painted in the blue and silver colors of the Galactic Council. They're trying to talk to us, reported Communications Officer Anne Murphy. But I can't understand what they're saying. Commander, Thexani arrived at the system expecting to find Zephyrian ships under attack by unknown raiders. Instead, he found 3 strange ships near the Zephyrian holy site. The Zephyrian mining ships floated nearby, clearly damaged but not destroyed. Scan those unknown ships, Thexani ordered. His forearms moved quickly over his control panel as he studied the readings. Commander, they're unlike anything in our database, his science officer reported. Their weapons are primitive but effective. Their ships are built for war, not peace. Try to contact them. The universal translator worked on the strange signals coming from the lead ship, but something was wrong. The words came through broken and unclear. The aliens seemed to be speaking multiple languages at once, and their thoughts were hard to follow. On the Columbia, Jake watched the alien ship spread out in what looked like an attack formation. Sir, they're powering up weapons, Ben Hayes reported. Are they targeting us? Jake asked. Yes, sir, all 5 ships have weapons locked on us. Jake had fought in 3 border wars before joining the deep space exploration program. He knew what combat looked like. These aliens were getting ready to attack. All ships, defensive positions, Jake ordered into his communication device. Prepare for battle. Dr. Lisa Carter looked up from her science station. Captain, wait. Maybe they're trying to help the aliens we fought earlier. We should try to talk to them. Doctor, they have weapons pointed at us, Jake replied. I won't. Let them destroy my ships and kill my people. On Thexani's ship, the translator finally produced some clear words from the humans. They're preparing for battle, the communications officer reported. They seem to think we're here to attack them. Tell them we're peacekeepers, Thexani ordered. Tell them to stand down. But the message that came through the faulty translator sounded like a threat to the humans. Jake heard what seemed like a demand for surrender. Sir, they're demanding we give up our ships, Anne Murphy reported. Jake's jaw tightened. No enemy had ever made him surrender, and he would not start now. All ships attack pattern Delta. Target their weapon systems first. The UES Columbia and her 2 sister ships, the Hartford and the Boston, moved into combat formation. The human ships were smaller than the council vessels, but they moved with deadly purpose. Thexani watched in surprise as the unknown ships suddenly accelerated toward his fleet. Most species would try to run from a superior force, but these aliens were attacking. "Evasive action," Thexani shouted. The battle began with a flash of energy weapons. The human ships moved in ways that surprised the council forces. Instead of fighting like civilized beings, keeping distance and trading careful shots, the humans came in close and fast. Jake stood calmly on his bridge as explosions lit up the space around them. "Ben, target their lead ship. Anne, tell Hartford and Boston to flank left and right." "Sir, they have better shields and bigger guns," Ben Hayes warned. "Then we don't give them time to use them," Jake replied. The Columbia rolled and dove toward the council flagship. Her guns fired in steady streams, forcing the larger ship to turn away. Meanwhile, the Hartford and Boston attacked from different angles. On the council ship, alarms rang as the strange attackers pressed their assault. "They're not fighting like any species we know," the tactical officer reported to Thexani. "They should be afraid of our superior firepower, but they're acting like they're the stronger force." Thexani watched his screens in growing concern. These aliens fought with a coordination and aggression he had never seen. When one of their ships took damage, the crew did not panic or retreat. Instead, they seemed to fight harder. Dr. Lisa Carter worked frantically at her station, trying to boost their communication systems. "Captain, I think I can break through their translator problems. Give me 2 minutes." "We may not have 2 minutes," Jake replied as another enemy shot shook the ship. The Hartford took a direct hit to her engine section. Captain Mary Williams, Jake's old friend from the academy, kept her ship in the fight even as fires burned through her hull. "Hartford to Columbia," her voice came over the radio, calm despite the emergency. "We've lost main power, but weapons are still online." "Pull back, Mary," Jake ordered. "Negative, we can still fight." This was exactly what Thexani feared. The damaged ship should have retreated to save the lives of its crew. Instead, it continued attacking while badly hurt. What kind of species kept fighting when defeat was certain? The answer came when Dr. Carter finally broke through the communication barrier. "Captain, I've got them," she called out. "Commander of the council ships, this is Dr. Lisa Carter of the Earth research vessel Columbia. We are not pirates or raiders. We are scientists studying this star system." Thexani heard the message clearly for the first time. "Earth vessel, this is Commander Thexani of the Galactic Council Peacekeeping Force. We came here to help the Zephyrian colony you attacked." "We didn't attack anyone," Jake's voice came back. "They attacked our research station without warning. We only fought to defend ourselves." The battle slowly stopped as both sides realized what had happened. The Zephyrians had seen the humans near their holy site and panicked. They had attacked, first, thinking the humans were there to steal their sacred crystals. But as the council ships began to pull back, Thexani made detailed scans of the human vessels. What he saw made his blood run cold. The humans had fought his superior force to a standstill using ships that were smaller and less advanced. They had shown no fear, no hesitation, and no mercy. Most disturbing of all, they had been willing to sacrifice themselves to protect their people. The damaged Hartford was still trying to fight even though her crew should have abandoned ship. As the council fleet retreated to a safe distance, Thexani began composing his report. The galaxy had just met a new species, and he was not sure if that was good news or the beginning of something terrible. The humans called themselves defenders and scientists, but they fought like beings born for war. They showed a level of aggression and determination that could reshape the balance of power in the galaxy. Ambassador Veltar would need to know about this immediately. The Council had procedures for dealing with new species, but they had never encountered anything quite like humanity before. The first contact with Earth had gone wrong in every possible way, and Thexani had the feeling this was only the beginning of their problems. The Great Hall of Nexus Prime had never seen such panic. Representatives from 12 different species gathered around the massive holographic display, watching the recorded footage of the human encounter for the third time. The air buzzed with worried voices speaking in dozens of languages. Ambassador Veltar stood at the center of the room, his blue skin darker than usual with stress. The recording showed the 3 human ships attacking his peacekeeping fleet with a ferocity that made even the warrior species uncomfortable. "Play it again," demanded General HFY, the Council's military advisor. His 6 eyes focused on the tactical display as the human ships moved across the screen. "I want to see how they coordinate their attack." Elder Quindos of the Ethereal Assembly floated near the display, her ancient voice whisking through the room. "I have seen this before, long ago. A species that fights like this brought chaos to the Outer Rim 3,000 years past." "What happened to them?" asked Representative Nalthos of the Peaceful Collective. "They vanished," Quindos replied. "Some say they destroyed themselves. Others believe they found something in the deep void that consumed them. But before they disappeared, they left nothing but empty worlds in their wake." On the screen, the human ship Hartford continued fighting even with half its hull burning. The alien representatives watched in silence as the damaged vessel refused to retreat. "This is not natural behavior," observed Dr. Yexani, the Council's expert on species psychology. "When faced with superior force, intelligent beings seek survival through retreat or surrender. These humans seem to prefer death over defeat." The recording ended, and the hall fell silent. Finally, Veltar spoke. "The humans have requested a formal meeting. They wish to establish diplomatic relations with the Council." "Absolutely not," General HFY said immediately. "We cannot allow such a dangerous species into Council space." "They helped the Zephyrians after the battle," Veltar pointed out. "Their doctor treated wounded Zephyrian miners without asking for payment. They left medical supplies and food." "A trick," General HFY insisted. "They want us to trust them before they attack." Representative Zalman of the Trading Guild raised his hand. "Perhaps we should learn more about them before making decisions. Our intelligence reports say they have only recently developed faster than light travel. They cannot be too dangerous with such limited technology." "Limited technology?" General HFY pulled up another display. "Look at these weapon readings. Their ships carry enough firepower to crack a moon. And they built those weapons with primitive materials." The debate continued for hours, but finally the Council voted. They would meet with the humans, but only at the neutral space station Haven's Rest. A full military escort would be present, and the meeting would be limited to basic information exchange. Meanwhile, Admiral Kate Thompson prepared for the most important mission of her career. The 50-year-old officer had spent 30 years in the Earth Defense Force, but she had never faced anything like this. Humanity's first contact with a galactic civilization could determine the future of both species. "The diplomatic team is ready, Admiral," reported Colonel Ryan Davis, her military advisor. The tall, serious man had reviewed every piece of intelligence they had on the Galactic Council. "What do we know about their psychology?" Kate asked Dr. Patricia Lee, their expert on alien behavior. "Based on the communications we intercepted, they seem to value peace and cooperation above all else," Dr. Lee replied. "Most of their member species appear to have evolved from prey animals or peaceful herd creatures. They may not understand our more aggressive nature." "Aggressive?" Kate raised an eyebrow. "We were defending ourselves." "I know, Admiral. But from their perspective, we attacked a superior force instead of retreating. That kind of behavior might seem insane to them." Captain Steve Martinez entered the briefing room, still wearing his flight suit from a reconnaissance mission. "Admiral, I've completed the border survey. The Council has monitoring stations throughout this entire sector. Their technology is definitely more advanced than ours." "How much more advanced?" Colonel Davis asked. "Their ships are faster, their weapons more powerful, and their shields stronger. But they're built for exploration and peacekeeping, not war. If it came to a fight, they'd have the advantage in single combat. But we might do better in fleet actions." Kate nodded. "Let's hope it doesn't come to that." "What about their military strength?" "Hard to estimate. I counted at least 50 major warships in the systems we scanned, but they're spread thin across a huge area. They seem to focus on preventing conflicts rather than winning them." Dr. Lee looked up from her notes. "That fits with what we know about their psychology. They likely see military force as a last resort, something to be used only when all other options fail. Unlike us, Colonel Davis said quietly. What do you mean? Kate asked. Admiral, we've been fighting wars for our entire history. We see conflict as a tool for solving problems. To us, military force is just another option on the table. To them, it might be unthinkable. The conversation was interrupted by a communication from the bridge. Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from Captain Eric Williams on the Defiant. The Council has agreed to joint training exercises as part of the diplomatic process. Kate smiled. Good. That'll give us a chance to see how they fight and let them see how we operate. 3 days later, Captain Eric Williams led a squadron of human ships to the training area near Haven's Rest. The Council had sent an equal number of vessels, commanded by Admiral Zenthari, a species that looked like a cross between a dolphin and an octopus. The exercise was simple. 2 fleets would engage in simulated combat using non-lethal weapons. The humans would learn Council tactics and the Council would observe human methods. What happened next shocked the alien observers. The human ships moved like a pack of wolves, each vessel supporting the others in a deadly dance of coordination. Sergeant Lisa Morgan, commanding the Marine detachment on Williams's ship, watched the tactical display with professional interest. Sir, they're trying to fight us like we're other Council species, she observed. They're keeping their distance and trading careful shots. Then let's show them something different, Captain Williams replied. All ships, close assault formation. We're going in fast and hard. The human squadron accelerated toward the Council fleet at maximum speed. Instead of the slow, careful engagement the aliens expected, the humans closed to point-blank range in seconds. Private Dan Foster, monitoring the communications, reported the alien confusion. Sir, they're asking each other what we're doing. They've never seen tactics like this. Admiral Zenthari watched in growing alarm as the human ships weaved between his vessels, firing from impossible angles. His ships were more powerful, but the humans moved so fast and unpredictably that his gunners couldn't get clean shots. How are they coordinating like that? His tactical officer asked. They're moving like they share one mind. I don't know, Zenthari replied. It's like they were born for this. The simulation ended with a clear human victory despite the Council's superior technology. But what disturbed the alien observers was not the defeat. It was how the humans had achieved. Dr. Maya Singh, the human cultural attaché, tried to explain during the post-exercise briefing. Humans have spent thousands of years developing military tactics. We've learned to work together under extreme pressure. But why? Admiral Zenthari asked. Why would a species spend so much time learning to fight? Because we had to, Dr. Singh replied. Our world was dangerous. We had predators, natural disasters, and limited resources. Those who couldn't fight didn't survive to have children. The alien representatives exchanged worried glances. A species that had evolved through constant conflict would naturally be good at warfare. But they had never encountered anything quite like human coordination and adaptability. Commander Thexani, who had been present at the first encounter, added his observations. During our battle, they continued fighting even when their ship was badly damaged. They seemed to grow more determined as the situation became more hopeless. That's normal human behavior, Colonel Davis explained. We call it fighting with your back to the wall. When humans are cornered, they often fight harder rather than surrender. But that's illogical, protested Dr. Yexani. Self-preservation should override all other considerations. Not for humans, Dr. Singh said. We often value other things more than our own lives, our families, our friends, our principles. We'll die for those things if necessary. The meeting continued for hours, but the cultural gap seemed to grow wider with each explanation. The aliens learned that humans saw warfare as a natural part of life, while humans discovered that most alien species would rather flee than fight. As the diplomatic session ended, Ambassador Veltar filed his report with growing concern. The humans seemed friendly enough, but their capacity for violence was unlike anything in Council experience. They fought like demons when threatened, but they also showed remarkable restraint when the threat was over. The real test would come soon. Intelligence reports indicated that the Devourers, the machine intelligence that had been slowly consuming worlds on the galactic rim, was accelerating its advance. Both humans and council worlds lay in its path. The neutral space station Haven's Rest floated in the empty space between human and council territory. The massive structure was built for meetings like this, where different species could meet safely without favoring either side. Today, it would host the most important diplomatic meeting in galactic history. Admiral Kate Thompson walked through the station's corridors with her team. The artificial gravity felt strange after weeks in space, and the air carried the scent of dozens of different alien species. Behind her, Colonel Ryan Davis carried a briefcase full of human history files, while Dr. Patricia Lee reviewed her notes on alien psychology. "Remember," Kate told her team, "we're here to build bridges, not burn them. These people could become our greatest allies or our worst enemies." Commander Tony Garcia, the youngest member of their team, looked around nervously at the alien beings, walking past them. Some had too many arms, others floated instead of walking, and a few looked like giant insects. "Admiral, are you sure they're going to understand us any better than we understand them?" "That's what we're here to find out," Kate replied. In the main meeting hall, Ambassador Veltar waited with the council delegation. The blue-skinned diplomat had spent days preparing for this moment, reviewing every piece of information they had about humans. Beside him, Commander Thexani studied tactical displays on his portable screen. "Are you certain about the security arrangements?" Veltar asked. "The station is surrounded by both human and council ships," Thexani replied. "If violence breaks out, we can evacuate quickly." "I hope it doesn't come to that." The meeting began with formal introductions. Admiral Thompson and Ambassador Veltar sat across from each other at a large table, while their teams arranged themselves on either side. Translation devices hummed quietly, converting words between dozens of languages. "On behalf of humanity, I welcome this opportunity for peaceful contact," Kate began. "We hope this is the beginning of a long friendship between our peoples." "The Galactic Council shares that hope," Veltar replied. "However, we must address certain concerns about human behavior and intentions." The first few hours went well. The humans explained their history of space exploration and their desire to learn about the galaxy. The council representatives described their organization and the principles of peace and cooperation that held their civilization together. Then Dr. Patricia Lee made what she thought was a helpful gesture. "To help you understand human culture, we've brought some historical records. Perhaps seeing our past will help explain our present." She activated a holographic display that showed scenes from human history. The aliens watched images of ancient battles, medieval knights, and modern soldiers. She narrated each scene, explaining how conflict had shaped human development. "War has always been part of human experience," Dr. Lee explained. "But through warfare, we learned cooperation, sacrifice, and the importance of protecting others." The alien delegates sat in stunned silence as they watched humans fighting throughout their history. The images showed armies clashing, ships battling at sea, and aircraft dueling in the sky. But what disturbed the aliens most was not the violence itself. It was how humans seemed to embrace it. Representative Nalthos of the Peaceful Collective spoke first. "Dr. Lee, these images show your species engaging in combat for thousands of years. Most civilized species abandon warfare once they develop agriculture and stable societies. Why did humans continue fighting?" "Because we had to," Colonel Davis answered. "Our planet had limited resources and many different groups competing for them. Those who couldn't defend themselves were conquered or destroyed." "But surely you could have found peaceful solutions," insisted Dr. Yexani. "Negotiation, trade, sharing resources." "We tried those things too," Kate replied. "But there were always some groups that preferred to take what they wanted by force. The only way to stop them was to be stronger than they were." Elder Quindos floated closer to the display. "Show us your most recent conflicts." Dr. Lee hesitated, then activated footage from humanity's recent border wars. The aliens watched human soldiers fighting in spacesuits, ships exploding in the darkness and Marines boarding enemy vessels. What shocked the council delegates was not just the violence, but the coordination. Human soldiers moved together like parts of a single organism, each one knowing exactly what the others would do. When comrades fell, the survivors didn't panic or retreat. They fought harder. This coordination, Commander Thixani observed, it's not just training. These humans seem to share thoughts during combat. Not thoughts, Colonel Davis corrected, but we do think alike under pressure. We call it unit cohesion. Soldiers who train together learn to predict each other's actions. And this? Thixani pointed to a scene where human Marines continued attacking even after being wounded. This soldier has been shot 3 times, yet he keeps fighting. Kate looked at the scene. It showed Sergeant Kevin Murphy from her old unit, bleeding but still laying down covering fire so his teammates could advance. Sergeant Murphy survived that battle. He said later that he couldn't let his friends down. He was willing to die for tactical advantage? Dr. Yexani asked. He was willing to die for his friends, Kate corrected. The cultural gap became clear during the discussion of military ethics. When the humans explained concepts like honor, duty, and sacrifice, the aliens responded with confusion and fear. That you speak of death in battle as if it's desirable, observed Admiral Zenthari. Not desirable, Dr. Lee explained, but acceptable when necessary. Humans believe some things are worth dying for, such as our families, our friends, our principles, the innocent people who can't protect themselves. The breaking point came when Colonel Davis tried to demonstrate human defensive thinking. He activated a tactical simulation showing how humans would defend a civilian colony from attack. The enemy has superior numbers and firepower, Davis explained as the simulation played, but we have the advantage of fighting for something we care about. Watch how the defenders coordinate their response. The simulation showed human forces making what appeared to be suicidal attacks against overwhelming odds. Ships rammed into enemy vessels. Soldiers held positions until they were overrun, and commanders made decisions that guaranteed their own death but saved others. This is madness, whispered Representative Zalman. They're throwing away their lives for no strategic benefit. There is a benefit, Davis insisted. Every enemy ship we destroy, every minute we buy, gives more civilians time to escape. The tactical goal isn't to survive, it's to protect others. Ambassador Veltar stood up abruptly. I think we need a recess to discuss what we've learned. The council delegation withdrew to a private chamber, leaving the humans alone. Kate could see through the transparent walls that the aliens were having an intense debate. That didn't go well, Commander Garcia observed. No, it didn't, Kate agreed. They're scared of us. Dr. Lee reviewed her notes sadly. I don't think they understand that our capacity for violence comes with an equally strong desire to protect others. They only see the warfare, not the reasons behind it. When the meeting resumed, Ambassador Veltar's expression was grave. Admiral Thompson, the Council has some serious concerns about human military philosophy. Your willingness to accept casualties in pursuit of tactical goals is disturbing to species that value individual life above all else. We value life too, Kate replied. That's exactly why we fight, to protect life. But you sacrifice lives to save lives. The mathematics don't make sense. Colonel Davis leaned forward. Ambassador, let me ask you something. If an enemy threatened to kill 1,000 innocent people unless you surrendered one of your soldiers, what would you do? Negotiate. Find a compromise. There must be alternatives to violence. And if there weren't, if the only choice was to sacrifice one to save 1,000? Veltar was quiet for a long moment. We would try to find another way. And while you were trying, the 1,000 would die, Davis pointed out. The meeting continued for several more hours, but the fundamental disconnect remained. The aliens saw human military thinking as dangerously aggressive, while the humans saw alien reluctance to fight as dangerously naive. The session was interrupted by an urgent message from the Council's outer territories. Commander Thixani read the report with growing alarm. Ambassador, we have a problem. The Devourers have accelerated their advance. They're no longer following their predicted timeline. How much time do we have? Veltar asked. Based on their current speed, they'll reach the outer council worlds in 3 months. The core systems in 6 months. Kate looked at the tactical display showing the machine fleet's advance. How many ships? Our estimate is over 10,000 combat units. Thixani replied. The room fell silent as everyone absorbed the implications. The Devourers were coming faster than expected, and their numbers were overwhelming. Ambassador, Kate said quietly, I think your people are about to learn why humans fight the way we do. When the Devourers arrive, negotiation won't be an option. They're machines. They don't care about compromise or finding peaceful solutions. Veltar looked at the advancing enemy markers on the display. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that maybe it's time for the Council to learn from human military experience. The emergency meeting lasted only 10 minutes. Admiral Kate Thompson received the call while her ship was still docked at Haven's Rest, refueling after the failed diplomatic talks. The message was brief and terrifying. The Devourers had broken through the outer defense line and were heading straight for inhabited worlds. How many ships do we have ready for combat? Kate asked her staff as they hurried to the bridge. 15 warships in this sector, Colonel Ryan Davis replied, checking his datapad. The main fleet is still 3 days away. The Council has 30 ships nearby, reported Commander Tony Garcia. But after what we saw in the training exercises, I'm not sure how effective they'll be against a real enemy. Kate nodded grimly. The Council ships were built for peacekeeping, not warfare. Their crews had little experience with actual combat, and their tactics were designed for preventing conflicts, not winning them. On the Council flagship, Admiral Zenthari faced the same grim reality. His forces were larger and better equipped than the human fleet, but he had seen how humans fought. There was something in their approach to battle that his people simply didn't understand. Admiral, the humans are requesting permission to join our defense force, his communications officer reported. Zenthari looked at the tactical display showing the approaching Devourer fleet. Over 3,000 machine ships were heading toward the Centauri Gateway, the main route into this sector of Council space. His 30 ships would not be enough to stop them. Tell Admiral Thompson we accept her offer, he decided. The combined fleet met at the Centauri Gateway 6 hours before the Devourers arrived. The space around the massive stellar structure buzzed with activity as human and Council ships took their positions. Captain Mike Roberts stood on the bridge of the UES, valiant watching the alien ships move into formation. His crew had fought in 2 border wars, but they had never seen anything like the approaching enemy. Sir, look at this, called Tactical Officer Sarah Collins from her station. The enemy formation is perfect. Every ship in exactly the right position, moving at exactly the right speed. Roberts studied the sensor readings. The Devourer fleet moved like a single massive machine, which in many ways it was. 3,000 identical ships, all controlled by the same artificial intelligence, all following the same programming. They're not like anything we've fought before, observed Chief Engineer Paul Adams. No individual commanders making mistakes, no confusion in their ranks, no fear or hesitation. Meanwhile, Dr. Helen Clark worked frantically in the science section, analyzing the Devourer technology with the help of Council scientists. What she found was disturbing. Admiral Thompson, I'm sending you our analysis, she reported over the communication system. The Devourers don't think like living beings. They calculate the most efficient way to achieve their goals, and then execute those plans perfectly. What are their goals? Kate asked. Resource collection. They harvest everything, useful from a planet, then move on to the next target. They don't negotiate, they don't show mercy, and they don't make emotional decisions. Kate shared this information with Admiral Zenthari during their final planning session. The alien commander listened with growing concern. So they will not retreat if they suffer losses? Zenthari asked. Not unless their programming determines that retreat is more efficient than continued attack, Kate replied. They're not afraid of death because they are not truly alive. How do we fight an enemy like that? Kate looked at the tactical display. The same way we fight any enemy. We hit them hard, we hit them fast, and we don't give them time to adapt to our tactics. The battle began at 0900 hours standard time. The Devourer fleet approached the gateway in perfect formation, their weapons charging as they calculated the most efficient way to destroy the defending forces. Admiral Zenthari opened fire first, his ships launching long-range missiles at the enemy formation. The Council weapons were powerful and accurate, destroying dozens of Devourer ships in the first salvo. But the machines did not react the way living beings would. There was no confusion, no panic, no attempt to avoid the incoming fire. The destroyed ships were simply replaced by others moving up from the rear ranks. "They're not even trying to dodge," observed Lieutenant Commander Julie Stevens aboard the UES Intrepid. "They're calculating that it's more efficient to absorb our fire and keep advancing." Captain Mike Roberts watched as the Devourers returned fire with mechanical precision. Their weapons found gaps in the Council formation with mathematical accuracy, targeting the most tactically important ships first. "Admiral Thompson, the Council ships are taking heavy damage," reported Sarah Collins. "Their formation is breaking apart." Kate made a decision that would have seemed insane to the alien observers. "All human ships, close assault formation. We're going in." The 15 human warships accelerated toward the Devourer fleet at maximum speed. Instead of maintaining a safe distance like the Council forces, they drove straight into the heart of the enemy formation. Admiral Zenthari watched in horror and amazement as the human ships plunged into certain death. "What are they doing? They'll be destroyed." His science officer Peltan studied the sensor readings. "Admiral, I think I understand. The Devourers are programmed to fight at long range where they can use their numerical advantage. The humans are forcing them into close combat where numbers matter less." The human ships moved like sharks through the Devourer formation. The UES Valiant rolled and weaved between enemy vessels, her guns firing at point-blank range. Captain Roberts stood calmly on his bridge as explosions lit up the space around them. "Target their command ships," Roberts ordered. "If we can disrupt their coordination, they might become less effective." Sergeant Kevin Murphy led a boarding party from the Intrepid onto a Devourer command vessel. His Marines fought through corridors filled with mechanical defenders, using tactics that the alien observers found both brilliant and terrifying. "Murphy to Intrepid." His voice came over the radio, calm despite the sound of weapons fire in the background. "We've reached the main computer core, beginning virus upload." Admiral Zenthari listened to the human communications with growing amazement. The boarding party was outnumbered 10-1, fighting an enemy that felt no pain and showed no mercy. Yet they remained focused on their mission. Dr. Helen Clark had developed a computer virus that could disrupt Devourer coordination, but someone had to get close enough to upload it directly into their systems. The human Marines had volunteered for what everyone knew was a suicide mission. The battle raged for 6 hours. The Council ships fought bravely, but their losses mounted steadily. The Devourers adapted to their tactics quickly, countering every strategy with mechanical efficiency, but the humans continued to surprise both their allies and their enemies. When the UES Hartford lost her engines, Captain Bill Turner used his ship's remaining momentum to ram a Devourer battleship. When the UES Boston was surrounded, Captain Lisa Watson ordered her crew to set off their own reactor, taking out 5 enemy ships in the explosion. "They keep fighting even when they're dying," Pelton observed in wonder. "Their tactical decisions make no logical sense, yet they're effective." Admiral Zenthari was beginning to understand something important about human psychology. They're not fighting to win, he realized. They're fighting to protect something. That changes their entire approach to combat. The turning point came when Sergeant Murphy successfully uploaded the virus into the Devourer command network. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The perfect enemy formation began to break apart as individual ships lost coordination with the Central Intelligence. "Admiral, the enemy ships are acting independently now," reported Sarah Collins. "They're still dangerous, but they're not working together anymore." Kate seized the opportunity. "All ships, concentrate fire on their largest vessels. Take them out one at a time." The combined human and Council fleet focused their attacks on the Devourer command ships. Without central coordination, the machine fleet began to make mistakes. Ships collided with each other, weapons fired at empty space, and their formation dissolved into chaos. But victory came at a terrible price. Of the 15 human ships that entered the battle, only 7 remained functional. The Council forces had suffered similar losses. The Centauri Gateway was saved, but both fleets were badly damaged. As the surviving Devourer ships retreated into deep space, Admiral Zenthari contacted Kate's flagship. "Admiral Thompson, your people fought with incredible courage today. But, I must ask, how do you train soldiers to sacrifice themselves so willingly?" Kate looked around her damaged bridge where her crew continued working despite their injuries. "We don't train them to die, Admiral. We train them to care about something more than their own survival. When people fight for others, they become capable of things that seem impossible." The battle was won, but intelligence reports indicated that the main Devourer fleet was still approaching. The force they had just defeated was only a scouting group. The real test was yet to come. As the damaged ships limped back toward friendly space, both humans and aliens began to understand that they would need each other to survive what was coming. The aliens had learned to respect human courage and tactical skill, while the humans had gained valuable allies with superior technology and resources. The alarms on Nexus Prime had been ringing for 3 days straight. The Galactic Council's capital world buzzed with desperate activity as millions of beings prepared for the impossible, defending their home against an enemy that had never been defeated. Admiral Kate Thompson stood in the Council's war room, looking at the massive display that showed the approaching Devourer fleet. 15,000 machine ships moved toward Nexus Prime in perfect formation, their path marked by the empty husks of worlds they had already harvested. "How long until they arrive?" asked Grand Admiral Yethnos, the Council's supreme military commander. His 12 arms moved nervously as he studied the tactical information. 18 hours, replied Captain Rachel Foster from her position at the communication console. "Our scouts report that they're moving faster than expected." Kate turned to face the assembled alien commanders. After the battle at Centauri Gateway, the Council had finally agreed to let humans help plan their defense, but the numbers were still overwhelming. "We have 400 ships total," Kate announced. "They have 15,000. In a straight fight, we lose." "Then what do you suggest?" asked Defense Coordinator Zalvek. The tall, thin alien had been one of the few Council members to support human involvement from the beginning. "We don't fight a straight fight," Kate replied. "We force them to come to us on our terms." Commander Alex Turner, Kate's communications officer, activated a holographic display showing Nexus Prime and its surrounding space. "The planet has a network of defense platforms and weapon satellites. If we position our ships correctly, we can create a killing field. The Devourers will simply calculate the most efficient way through our defenses," objected Admiral Zenthari. "They don't feel fear or hesitation." "That's exactly what we're counting on," Kate said with a grim smile. "Their logical thinking is also their weakness. They can't understand tactics that don't make mathematical sense." The plan Kate proposed was so dangerous that most of the alien commanders thought she had lost her mind. Instead of spreading their forces to defend multiple approach routes, she wanted to concentrate everything in one area and let the Devourers attack their strongest point. "You want them to hit us where we're strongest?" Grand Admiral Yethnos asked. "I want them to think they're hitting us where we're strongest," Kate corrected. "The real trap will be something they can't calculate because it requires them to understand sacrifice." Captain Nicole Brady of the UES Intrepid raised her hand. "Admiral, are you sure about this plan?" "It requires perfect timing and coordination between human and Council forces." "I'm sure," Kate replied, "because I know our people will do whatever it takes to protect this world and everyone on it." The next 18 hours passed in a blur of preparation. Human and alien crews worked side by side, installing new weapon systems and preparing for the battle of their lives. Engineers like Brian Cooper and Scott Davis shared technical knowledge with their alien counterparts, while doctors like Dr. Anna Mitchell set up emergency medical stations. Captain Jennifer Walsh reviewed her boarding assault plans with Sergeant Linda Ross and Corporal Mark Johnson. Their job would be the most dangerous of all, getting close enough to the Devourer command ship to plant a massive explosive device. "Ma'am, This plan has about a 1% chance of success, Sergeant Rossi observed. Then we'll have to make sure we're in that 1%, Walsh replied. When the Devourer fleet arrived, they moved exactly as Kate had predicted. The machines calculated the most efficient approach to Nexus Prime and began their attack on the planet's strongest defensive position. The battle opened with a massive exchange of fire. The Council's defense platforms unleashed everything they had at the approaching enemy, while the Devourer ships returned fire with mechanical precision. Space around Nexus Prime lit up with thousands of energy beams and explosions. Grand Admiral Yethnos watched from his command ship as the first wave of Devourers broke through the outer defense line. Admiral Thompson, they're coming straight at us just as you predicted. Good, Kate replied from the bridge of the UES Independence. All human ships execute Plan Alpha. Time to show them something they've never seen before. The human fleet, which had been hiding behind the defense platforms, suddenly accelerated toward the Devourer formation. But instead of attacking, they flew straight through the enemy lines without firing a shot. The Devourers calculated that the human ships were retreating and ignored them, focusing their fire on the apparently more dangerous Council vessels. It was exactly the mistake Kate had hoped they would make. Now, Kate ordered. The human ships suddenly reversed course and attacked the Devourer fleet from behind. At the same time, the Council ships that had been pretending to retreat came back in full force. The machine fleet found itself caught in a crossfire from both directions. But the real surprise came when Captain Sam Turner of the UES Resolute led a squadron of volunteer ships on what appeared to be a suicide run toward the Devourer command vessel. Turner to all ships. His voice came over the radio, calm despite the chaos around him. We're going in. Cover us as long as you can. Admiral Zenthari watched in amazement as Turner's squadron flew directly into the heaviest concentration of enemy fire. They're all going to die, he whispered. That's the point, Kate replied quietly. The Devourers can't understand why anyone would sacrifice themselves for no tactical gain, so they won't see the real attack coming. While the machine fleet focused its fire on Turner's obvious suicide run, Captain Jennifer Walsh led her stealth ships in from a completely different direction. Her small force had been invisible to Devourer sensors, but now they raced toward the enemy command ship at maximum speed. Walsh to Independence. Her voice was barely audible over the static. We're almost in position. Tell my family I love them. Tell them yourself when you get back, Kate replied. The sacrifice of Turner's squadron created the opening Walsh needed. Her ships reached the Devourer command vessel and began their boarding assault. Sergeant Linda Ross and her Marines fought through mechanical defenders with the desperate fury of people who knew they were humanity's last hope. Ross to Walsh. The sergeant's voice came over the radio between bursts of weapons fire. We've reached the core. Beginning explosive placement. How long do you need? Walsh asked. 2 minutes to set the charges, 30 seconds to get clear. You don't have 30 seconds, Walsh realized, looking at her tactical display. The Devourers are sending reinforcements to stop you. Ross understood immediately. Then we don't get clear. Johnson, Adams, keep them off me while I finish this. The Marines held their position against overwhelming odds while Ross completed her mission. They died one by one, but they bought the time needed to plant the explosives. The destruction of the Devourer command ship sent shockwaves through the machine fleet. Without central coordination, individual ships began making errors. Some fired on their own vessels, others flew into asteroids, and their perfect formation collapsed into chaos. All ships concentrate fire on the largest remaining vessels, Kate ordered. Take them out while they're confused. The combined human and Council fleet pressed their advantage. Captain Nicole Brady led a charge against the enemy's left flank, while Captain Eric Williams coordinated attacks on their right. The Devourers, designed to fight with perfect coordination, could not adapt to the chaotic individual combat that followed. But victory came at a terrible cost. Of the 400 ships that began the battle, less than half remained functional. The human fleet had been reduced to 37 vessels, and the Council forces had suffered equally heavy losses. As the last Devourer ships exploded or fled into deep space, an exhausted quiet settled over the battlefield. Kate slumped in her command chair, looking at the casualty report scrolling across her screen. "Admiral," Captain Foster reported quietly, "we're receiving surrender signals from the remaining Devourer units. Their central intelligence has been destroyed, and the individual ships are reverting to basic programming." Kate nodded. "Signal the Council fleet. The battle is over." Grand Admiral Yethnos contacted the Independence a few minutes later. "Admiral Thompson, I owe you an apology. When we first met your species, we thought you were too dangerous to trust. Now I understand that you're exactly the kind of dangerous we needed. We fight for the same things you do," Kate replied. "We just have different ways of protecting them." Ambassador Veltar, who had watched the entire battle from the planet's surface, transmitted his final report to the Council archives. "Today, we learned what it means when humans go to battle," he wrote. "They do not fight for conquest or glory. They fight because they believe some things are worth dying for. They are terrifying in their capabilities, but more importantly, they are terrifying in their dedication to protecting others. The war was over, but its lessons would reshape the galaxy. The Galactic Council had gained powerful allies who thought about conflict in ways they never could. Humans had found a place among the stars, not as conquerors, but as protectors." In the months that followed, human military advisors worked with Council forces to develop new tactics and strategies. The aliens learned to appreciate the value of courage and sacrifice, while humans gained access to advanced technology and peaceful diplomatic methods.